Okay, here we go. Good luck. Mostly to myself. Okay. Setting it up. Okay, it looks like we're live here. Waiting for it to show up on my page. Okay, we are live. And speak. Okay. Hello, everybody. Let's see. This is not showing up on my page. I see us here. It's not showing up on my page. Can anybody else see if it's on my page?
I saw it. I don't see it on your page, but I do see that we're live.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Live. We're live.
Okay.
There's two here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, everybody. Wow. Hi. How's it going, everybody? We are super delighted to be here with all of you out there in beautiful Facebook land. And we're here to talk about heaven on earth. And I'm joined by this incredible panel of beautiful, wise women who have been on the spiritual journey for many, many years. And that path has prepared them for leadership in their own unique way at this time. So I would love to introduce you to each of them and have them say hello. So Charlene.
Hi, everyone out in Facebook land. My name is Charlene, and I live in Sedona, Arizona. And the reason I'm here is because Kay invited me, and the topic is near and dear to my heart, as well as the rest of the women in this group, and sharing together our thoughts and beliefs and inspiration, mostly for heaven on earth.
Thank you, Charlene. I know you're going to have some really potent things to say, as you always do. Ashley?
Hello, my name is Ashley, and I am really honored to be here. This subject matter, heaven on earth, is something near and dear to my heart, and something I talk about quite often. And I am in the Sedona area as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Cerise.
Hi, I'm Cerise, and I'm excited to be here. This is also something very dear and close to my heart. I am based in the New York tri-state area.
Thank God. Thank God for that. Representing the East Coast. And also Joan.
Hey, I'm Joan, and I'm just waiting to see if my dog is going to start barking. So that's my tentativeness. I am in Richmond, Virginia. So Cerise and I are holding down the East Coast. And heaven on earth, as has been said, is a powerful topic that deeply resonates for me. I'm glad to be here and appreciate the invitation, Kay.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it so much. And Lisa.
Hey, I'm Lisa in St. Charles, Illinois. I'm here because I feel as though it's important that all of us light holders sort of hold that space as an acupuncture point kind of on this earth. So each time we gather around this topic, it comes down and through, and I feel really, really, really pleased and grateful that I get to be here to do that with you all.
Yeah, and I think that's it's just incredibly beautiful that you're all here with us today, because it's not a topic that is easy to talk about necessarily when the world appears as though it's exploding and imploding. And but I think I'm here, I'm Kay Eck, and I'm your moderator today. And I'm here, I'm from Sedona, Arizona as well. And I'm here because I feel like there is a potent window for us all to bring this concept of heaven on earth from our consciousness into reality. And so this, I think this project, so to speak, really requires all of our participation. So that's really what we're doing here today, is we're sort of rounding up the troops to get everybody on board to start really bringing the dreams and visions that exist in their heart forward into reality. So this is going to be a freewheeling conversation this evening, and feel free to ask questions in the chat if that comes up for you, and we'll try to get that answered. If you want to address your question to someone specifically, then please just pop their name in there so we know who to address the question to. So I want to begin today with a little bit of kind of a little explanation about how we found ourselves in the position of not being in heaven on earth. And I, by no means, am the definitive historian on the history of the cosmos. All I can say is that I've tried to piece this story together for myself over the past 20 years of really actively being a seeker of knowing on this course. So some things may resonate for you and some things may not. And I encourage you to really use your discretion and discard what doesn't make sense to you, but also let yourself feel into the truth of what is true for you as we go through this. And I think one of the beautiful things that we're bringing to the table this evening is that we do all have a different perspective. That's like a different key that fits in a different lock that's going to eventually open this up for us. So, and you as well out there have a piece of the puzzle too, to solve this. So how we got ourselves in this situation. I'm going to start at the beginning, but it's not going to be that long. Joan?
Do you want to put it on speaker view so the person speaking is the one showing up?
Sure, I can do that.
That's
okay. There you are. So we were created by God, our mother, father, God, in the image of God. And the purpose of that was so that we as souls on an evolutionary journey could learn to be creators like God. And the planet Earth was prepared for us to an exquisite extent so that we would be nourished and supported, and we would have a home where we thrived. And in this arrangement, you could say, we were, our operating system was the law of the circle, one of the many universal laws of the cosmos and nature. And in this, the law of the circle, it's also commonly referred to as the law of cause and effect. But and that applies, so there's the law of cause and effect, or the law of the circle, operates in the physical, in the emotional, and in the spiritual realm. But in the spiritual realm, we call it a circle because we are in this energetic relationship with God, whereby God is radiating unconditional love for us. We are receiving that. We are creating with that and sending that back to God, amplified. And then when God receives it, just as, for instance, a mother, a baby looks at the mother and the mother smiles and the baby feels this smile and feels the love, smiles back, and then the mother feels that love and it's amplified. So each party has a role in amplifying this unconditional love, and the creation goes out from there. So this was the way that our incarnations onto Earth was intended. This is like a school for us, learning how to be creators. And this operated, and I've actually read that in many ways, the souls who incarnated on Earth originally, millions of years ago, really there was almost no difference between the heaven realm and the earthly realm, because we were in complete divine alignment at the time. So this went on successfully for hundreds of thousands of years. And then, dun, 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 because of choices we made and other surprises that occurred, which were not planned for, and the fact that we had free will, we began to diverge from that divine, from being in alignment with divine will. And this was our free will to do. And we started to, as the energy came from God, we started to qualify it with our own thoughts, beliefs, misunderstandings. Things came into the picture, and we started making decisions from fear, greed, ego, lack, all these sorts of things. So unfortunately, because the energy of the vibration of these negative thoughts and feelings and beliefs could not reach the realm of God, because God is too high of a vibration, the highest vibration. They were amplified as is and sent back to us. So we ended up in this kind of loop where the negativity was amplified, and we kind of started a downward spiral, which eventually was characterized as our fall from grace. So we got so far out of alignment with divine will that we lost our connection. We lost our, what we thought was our connection to God. We can't actually lose our connection to God, but it was the illusion of separation that we were operating under. And this went on for millions of years. We faced many cataclysms, which brought the planet and humanity into great jeopardy. But there was enough of a call from the hearts of the faithful to God that certain dispensations were made, and we received assistance for this, for getting ourselves back into divine alignment. So recently, we have tipped the scales, and we are irrevocably back on track, making our way back to the heart of God. So nothing is going to change that fact, but the path is going to require our constant, vigilant participation, because that's the way it works. So the second thing that I wanted to, that's my nutshell. The second thing that I wanted to address is how, and I'm also going to ask our beautiful panelists this as well, but one of the questions that might come up is, how do we know that heaven on earth is actually a thing? And I invite you to think about that parent-child relationship again. And if, we have created, some of us have created life, children have gifted them life. And imagine us saying to the child who we created out of love, I want you to have way, way less than I have. I want you to spend your lifetime struggling. I want you to be confused. I want you to be lost. I want, like this would never happen, because this is not how a creator from love would ever want that to happen. So this is how, and I think that deep within us, we all know that there is an ideal of heaven and that we are meant to live it on earth. So that's where we are right now. And I'm going to turn it, I'll just leave it on speaker view. I want to throw some questions out to our beautiful panel and get all of your ideas and visions on this topic. Does anybody have any questions? Awesome. Okay. All right. I'd like to start with Ashley. And Ashley, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about why the expression of our dreams and visions around heaven on earth are so important, and why are they so important right now?
Thank you, Kay. That's such an awesome question. I think there's a couple of things that I want to share. In regards to heaven on earth, in regards to our creativity, in regards to accessing our wholeness, to anchor, I believe that our dreams, our visions, like how we want to see the quantum timeline, how we want to envision our future, but more importantly, how we want to envision our present moment. Because to me, it's the present moment that helps to actually anchor heaven on earth. It's how we, it's how we speak. It's how we breathe. It's the intention in our physical form, in our living embodiment, that helps us to kind of dream that dream that is happening in this quantum moment at that 0 point calibration. And, I think that if you want to get into law of attraction, if you want to get into manifestation and things like that, I think that's a step in the right direction. But I think more than anything, it's about creating, it's about birthing, just like you were sharing about this. When you're connecting things to a child, it's like we're really birthing this reality with our words, with our actions, with our thoughts, and with and really trusting ourselves to kind of go on the path. So I think that's what I want to say about that. I think that dreaming, envisioning, it is very important, but it's also like spell it out, speak the words, call it into form, and be mindful of how this present moment informs the next.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much, because the consciousness of heaven on earth really is a present moment thing. I mean, consciousness in itself does not really exist in the future or the past. It only exists now. So I think that is such a beautiful point, that we can actually fashion heaven on earth in every instant. And I don't think that necessarily means that we're trying to create a perfect picture, but it's more like knowing the potential. And I think I was speaking with Charlene a little bit about this earlier today, and I'm wondering, Charlene, if you can kind of talk a little bit about how this present moment can be more than just heaven on earth. We can do more than just that in the present moment. Can you speak to that?
I think so. The first thing that came up for me was like, oh my God, what were we talking about? What did I say? But yeah, in terms of heaven on earth and the present moment, I feel like it starts with us as well. I kind of wanted to echo what Ashley was saying, and that, what do I want to say? Well, how it happens moment by moment is, I also believe that it's like choosing being able to choose in the moment. So I think there's pattern things that we do, and then there's potentially new things that we can do. And I know for myself that, oh gosh, okay, now I know maybe what we were talking about. I got it. It all came back. Just was that, this moment in time, I kind of feel like no one's unscathed by what we're going through. Like when we look out into our world, it doesn't look so great sometimes. And I really loved what you said earlier, Kay, because I was thinking about this in terms of sharing on this call, is that when we pour the love and light in, all that is not like that is going to come up to be either revealed and healed and integrated back into wholeness. And so I'm in my own process of healing and bringing myself into wholeness. And I've been living in a particular way that maybe isn't serving me anymore. And to be honest, there are some things that I did not want to do today. And when I felt like I didn't want to do those things, I had to remember what my idea of my heaven on earth looked like and how I would be behaving in my heaven on earth and what I would be doing and what I would feel like, and choose differently.
Yeah.
And choose differently. And so it kind of goes back to this moment by moment situation, and that, you know, I do really believe that we are moving towards our own slice of heaven on earth. And once we all start creating our own slice of heaven on earth, then we get to co-create heaven on earth, and it just ripples out from there.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because like I said earlier, you know, our thoughts, our beliefs, the things that we say are radiating outward. So in the present moment, when we're faced with a difficult challenge, what do we want to radiate outward in that situation? What do we want to come back to us from the law of circle? Like, let it be selfish. Like, if you are having a difficult time with, let's say, a salesperson at Walmart, and you know, you have an option there of what do I want to receive back from this encounter? Whatever that is, I'm going to pour that forward into this. Thank you so much. Lisa, I was wondering if I could ask you how you first became aware of the consciousness of heaven on earth. And what does that mean to you?
Well, oddly enough, I really think that I awoke to it right when 2020 began. I started to, I mean, it obviously it was this sort of gradual crescendo awakening inside, but in 2020, so much occurred, so much changed, so many things that just rattled reality and my own comfort for me. I don't know, I immediately ran indoors. I went inward to the heart and really just started to evaluate, like my life depended on it. I'm not really sure, you know, all of these exterior things were really inspiring me to reflect internally, turn inward. And as I did that, you know, that is where that's really where the answers are found. And then I saw those points of truth inside of me that felt so true, reflected externally then as well. And I started to really see the illumination between those truth points inside of me and the things in life that mattered to me the most, that felt the most true, that felt the most organic. And that's when I started to follow those. And it brought me to the people, the conversations. It brought me to really just clear my table entirely of all the extra detail stuff. And of course, it's taken like 3 years to really kind of sift through it all. But the conversations, the communication, really, I should say, that I have between myself and all of life, with my daughter, with the earth, in my private moments with God, and with the individuals that I feel most resonant with. And the power, the joy, what would the word be? The God moments are just too big, bigger than I ever remember feeling in this life, but equally touch on a remembering that I have so deep inside that I know this is a sort of return to a state of beingness that we've all been at before. It seems as though the synchronicities, the feeling inside, the felt presence of God in certain things is a remembering. It's a new and it's an ancient thing. And so I know that heaven on earth was an intention, an original intention, and it feels so familiar that it within every single conversation and interaction I have with life. So 3 years running.
Yeah, I mean, that's such an incredibly beautiful example of how something difficult and challenging, where there is a lot of potential negativity, actually fed you down this path of shifting. And then once you did that inside of you, it started popping up everywhere in your life. Of course, you said it way more eloquently than I am right now, but thank you so much for that. I'm wondering if I could ask Joan if how you personally prepare yourself or have prepared yourself for receiving these heaven on earth frequencies.
That is a powerful question. And for me, the two key words that stand out are prepare and receive. And I could probably talk for a long time about both of those words, and receiving certainly is something that I'm still cultivating, as I think many of us are, that it's like that you were speaking about that loving gaze from Mother, Father, God to us, just like a mother with her infant, and to believe like that we are worthy of that certainly has been a journey for me to recognize that much love can be coming in my direction. And for me, one of the key places and ways that I prepare and that I will say reattune to that receptivity is in the natural world. And I really appreciated what Lisa said when she used the phrase, like in relationship to all life. So not just interpersonal relationships, but like relationships with everything, relationships, like being in a love affair with the moon, or, there's a tree on my property that, that I frequently say, I love you to. And today, for example, I went to my office and there were these 5 deer that were hanging out just for like hours extended. And receiving that, I believe my preparation to receive that speaks to that amplification where more of it comes and more of it comes and more of it comes.
Yeah.
So I'll pause there.
I mean, one of the reasons I think that's such an important thing is because in the beginning, if you can remember back, and maybe you can share with us a little bit about this, but when you first started your journey, it feels like, you may have a beautiful awareness that what I liken it to, watching a play or even being in the play, and suddenly there's like a little parting of the curtain and you see that, oh, there's something going on behind the curtain, and the curiosity then of that awareness starts to open you up to more of those. But in the beginning, sometimes your mind is so crowded with all of these programmed thoughts and beliefs and, some of the negative energies that humanity as a collective has been carrying with it for so long. It's not easy to eradicate these from the mind, and maybe we're never really meant to. But can you describe a little bit about your early journey so that people understand that it isn't just like one day you're smelling the roses, there's thorns along the way. Can you share a little bit about that?
I don't know how early you want me to go, Kay.
Whatever feels right for you.
Yes. So just to clarify, I think what you're asking me, because I will say that as someone who identifies as a mystic, there is a way in which what I'm speaking of has been woven to some degree throughout my life, even those moments like in my darkest times. So I will say that my predisposition and my way of preparing and receiving might look different than other people, just given that fact that I do tend to identify as a mystic and have those kinds of experiences in my life. I don't know. I'm interested. It's interesting to me that you're asking me this question. It's like there must be something you're sensing that I'm meant to convey or name, and I'm not, like, from my own perspective, I'm not fully clear what that is. I guess what I'll speak to in the moment that I'm aware of is like my deep love and passion for the divine, which I think has been there since I was a very little girl, and it's taken many forms, and certainly was shaped in the religion that I was raised in, and it would look a certain way, and I was raised to believe that there was like an earning that was necessary or a proving in order to access heaven, and that it was something not on the earth. But I have come to recognize that heaven is here. Heaven is here in these moments, that we both create it and receive it and bring that presence of grace. So it's been this like dawning realization really over decades of unlearning the old programs and ideas about someone else being the arbiter of what I'm worthy of, and B, recognizing I have the power in the moment to create that, to access that, to be a conduit for it and express it in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
That's really beautiful. And the thing that it reminds me, and I learned this so clearly when I was doing my podcast, which was about about ordinary people and their spiritual journeys, in that for me, my spiritual awakening was very gradual. I had little moments all through the years that woke me up in this really gradual way. But that's not everybody's path. Some people get woken up all at once through, something traumatic or dramatic, and everything in between. So I think that's really important to remind us of, is that this is such a unique journey that each one will inevitably go through, from my understanding. So I'm wondering if I could ask Cerise about her awareness journey, her awakening journey.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kay. I was like chomping at the bit to share. So for me, it's been a long journey, and it really started with understanding more about sovereignty and about, how to get there for myself. And a lot of it had to do with really going inside and doing a lot of shadow work and healing. So I had to really go inward quite a bit, to meditate daily, to take care of my body, eat whole foods, work out every day. A lot of very tactical things. Listen to very positive things, turn off the TV, not read newspapers anymore, and really start building that sovereignty within myself so that I could experience heaven on earth in the best way possible for me. So that's part of my journey, and a lot of the things that I've had to do to be able to step into that sovereignty for myself.
Yeah. Can you define or explain a little bit more about that shadow work? Like what does that entail?
Peeling through like an onion, peeling layers, having some of those remembrances of things in the past and really thinking about them, journaling about them, going through all the feelings, and letting go. Sometimes talking about them with other people, sometimes crying and releasing, just lots of different, depending on the work itself. Had to go through a lot of internalization, understanding, but things that I would, shift in different parts of my body and, hide, actually had to confront and face and deal with. So it's a lot of hard work, but also work to try and be the best version of myself that I can be. And it's still a journey that I'm going to be on for a while, but I can't imagine going, not being on this journey. It's not easy. It's not pretty, but it's amazing at the same time. Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I've noticed is that you spoke about the need to take care of the body, take care of the emotions, the stuff that only humans have to deal with, like we're informed, so we have these bodies. And I want to say two things. One is that when you start out, you don't really even know what the tools are. But as you make your way, you start to gather more and more tools, whether they be, meditation or movement or getting to meet people who are on the similar path, blah, 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 all those things. And so that when you continue to go through it, now you have the tools. So when things come up, it's not as big a deal. It's like, oh, here's the shadow again. Like, let's go ahead and deal with this. So it becomes much easier, even at the same time as it's kind of ramping up. I know that for me, my body is demanding more and more and more perfection. Like it knows what it wants, and it wants me to comply. And I don't really have a say in it too much anymore the way I used to. So I think I'd love to ask Megan a little bit about this, because I know she's been on this path for so long. And what are some of the tools in your toolkit, Megan?
Oh boy. Hi everyone. You become eclectic, don't you? I too was raised, within a faith, and there was a lot of translation that has had to take place. I don't necessarily delegitimize any of my experiences through formal religion, but it is this like one of my tools is the capacity to translate things that the rest of the world presents as heaven on earth, and be able to translate that into a language that I can, walk the walk within, right? And so for me, you know, I've had very, very obvious tools. I was born with the gift of like happiness. I'm just one of these like happy, generally happy people. And so for me, exploring the planet, right? Things like hiking, things like getting out in nature, there's nothing that recharges you more than not only a deep immersion into nature, but even just affixing on a single bird in your backyard for 5 minutes, right? Or looking into the eyes of a squirrel can be an incredibly heavenly moment. So nature's always been my go-to. Similar through the body, I've always, you know, a well-known yoga teacher, BKS Iyengar, said that through the body we can experience a spark of our own divinity. And so we have to balance and be careful not to become too addicted to the physical form, right? And experiencing our divinity through the physical. However, I couldn't agree more with Iyengar in this experiencing a spark of divinity, this idea like, holy cow, I can accomplish that, right? And we do we experience the physical so often because of the mindset that we applied, or because of unknowingly, even at times, the mystical touch that we've added to it. Music and creation and being an artist has always been one of my tools, and for a very long time, service. In the yoga world, it's called Siva, selfless service. But before I even really had this word or this concept through my yogic tradition, you know, my yogic practice, for me, I just heard somewhere along the way that if you volunteer, you feel good. If you volunteer, at least you're doing something. Even if you don't know what you're doing with your life, go volunteer, because the value of connecting to people, or animals or nature or whatever you're volunteering with. So service, and then coming full circle to what Joan said, is then on the other side of service, the capacity to receive support and receive love from others, and sort of not only walk the talk, but receive the gift as well, has been an incredibly magical tool. Because, you know, sometimes when you're on your A game and you're like, I just had a good decade, you know, like I just had a good decade, and you like, and then bam, like something just smacks you down, and lo and behold, you do find the ego on the ground with you. And if you can soften that ego and radically accept yourself, I think at the end of days, you know, what later on when I share a song, for me, heaven on earth comes in many forms, but one of the most powerful is forgiveness. And when you learn this self-forgiveness, and you learn to not be attached to even your own self-identity, because you become attached to that, it changes. And then you, all of a sudden, you're struggling accepting yourself. I just mastered that back in that like perfect decade I had. Like, what the hell? So now you're like, you know, but then when you do this with yourself, then this when you're side by side with someone who's going through some of the shadow work, or some of the really uncomfortable things that rock you spiritually in a path of awakening, whatever you want to call it, do you have the patience for others when they're going through it? And that's been my work lately, is having the patience for others when they're going through this work, because it's not always pretty. Imagine like yourself going through it, and how you were in your household and in your relationships and at your workplace. Are you there for others when it's a little spastic?
Yeah.
You know, so
To say the least. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is, you know, if we can get to a point where we are allowing people to have their process, just like God has allowed us to have our process, and she is given us, you know, close to 5 million years to get our act together. So that's a lot of patience. And I think that that's like a bridge to us co-creating, once we're all on the same page, if that ever happens, then the co-creation opportunities will just like explode, you know. So thank you so much for that, Megan. That was really beautiful. And I want to turn it over to Ashley. And Ashley, can you tell me, one, what is your vision for heaven on earth? What does that look like? I'll let you answer that first.
For me, it's about like I had shared earlier, it's about presence, and it's also about activating the God spark within me and asking God, what will you have me do today? And really trusting whatever that is and following that flow and following that openness to whatever it is, whether that day is full of initiation, or if that day is full of compassion, or if that day is full of embodiment. Like the question is what will you have me do today? How can I serve the planet through my embodiment, through my words, through my actions? And then from that space is the alchemy of what heaven on earth will be. It's like, what is the next logical step? What is that next heart intention that will pave the path towards that? So
That's beautiful. My second question for you is, does everyone have a different vision of heaven on earth? And how do those visions or versions, what is the interplay of those?
I'm so glad you asked this question. My inner kiddo is like lit up, because I mean, I believe that there is a God spark within each one of us. That's why we chose to come here. It's why we're anchoring that fire and that passion and that love. And I say often, I think we as humans are a kaleidoscope of emotions. We're a kaleidoscope of dreams. We're a kaleidoscope. We do have pain and we have initiations and we have those things as well. But all it takes is like a tilting of the kaleidoscope just a little bit to see that flash of consciousness, one source, unity consciousness through that unique lens that we have. But we're all a fractal, and therefore all of us are bringing together the wholeness and the unity. Just like in our bodies, there are cells that are pulling and magnetizing together to one energy. It's yes, let's all create unique concepts about heaven on earth, so that way when we do collide into that unity consciousness, we're one form, we're one energy, we're one source, and all of our uniqueness and our wholeness is present in that kaleidoscope. It's to me, I love that we're unique in the way that we imagine our heaven on earth, because the more the merrier in the quantum. There are like billions of us on this planet. So let's pray for the more.
Yeah, that's making me think of, I want to relate a little story about one of my very first awakening experiences. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and this wasn't the first one that I ever had, but it was one of the most powerful. And there was a little park near my home. It's actually quite a big park, and we had a lot of freedom when we were kids because our parents were uninterested. Now they weren't interested, but that's just the way it was. And so I would ride my bike up to this park, and they had, in one section of the park, they had this ring of giant weeping willow trees. They were just, it just was like a magical fairyland. And I went to sit under one of the trees, and it was a hot summer day in the Midwest. So the steam is rising off of the grass, and I've got my little shorts set on, and I'm sweating, and I'm sitting underneath this tree. And given as I was to solitary experiences, no one was around. And I just, in this sudden moment, had this awareness that everything was profoundly okay. Like everything was profoundly okay. And and so if you can imagine what you said, everybody existing in that state of profound okayness, that profound love, that profound godness. It's like it's going to be like I mean, of course, we can't even find the words for it because it's so big. You know, it's like trying to define God. And so yeah, just want to throw that out there.
I love that you shared that. I thank you very much because I feel that, right? Like it's there's those moments where we're in the stillness and it's like that I think it's from the Bible. It's like be still and know that I am God. But it's also like the way that I see it now is like be still and know that I am the presence of God. And in that space is exactly the expansion that you're talking about sitting under the willow tree. It's like, I feel like there is something about the pulsation, just like a heartbeat for humanity, the heartbeat within us. It's like the expansion and the contraction. It's like there isn't a duality. It actually is the wholeness that allows for both things to exist. And so I really, really love that you shared that moment from the innocence of your space, like sitting under the wisdom of the tree. It was like both things were existing within that reality that brought you to that kind of 0 point awareness in the stillness. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think one of the things it's interesting to note is that I was still very fully aware of my little human being. I didn't go somewhere. I didn't have to leave the planet in order to experience this. It was in that little body and my connection to the earth that I experienced that. And yeah, so I'm wondering if I could ask Charlene to share her vision of heaven on earth, because I'm going to ask everybody.
My vision of heaven on earth is, yeah, I don't know. No. I mean, I do feel like, so the overarching phrase that comes out of my mouth typically is a world that works for all, you know, where everyone's living in harmony, you know, with compassion and understanding and awareness and reverence for our interconnectedness and our life and the life force and source that we are connected to God. You know, and maybe that's simply put, or maybe that's not simply put. But that's what my vision for heaven on earth is. And I mean, when you use that word, I used to have a lot of visions of heaven on earth. I mean, very specific visions for heaven on earth. And as a matter of fact, I was gifted a lot of visions very early on. And the practice for me has been releasing them, because there's this essence of they do already exist. And it's just energetically aligning with where that existence is, as opposed to where we are. And how I can explain how to get there in a very practical manner is that we were gifted the ability to have free will. And then there's divine will and divine alignment. There's individual alignment and there's God alignment. And I have just found myself moving more and more and more away from what I think is best for me or how I want to live out my life and exactly what that looks like, and surrendering to, you know, grace or the higher will, God's will. And how I do that too is like this afternoon when I get in a little contraction, resistance, and think I can't do it and think I can't have it. And especially if the thing that I want to do or want to have aligns with what I feel like is my higher calling, I just let go and let God. And so that's my little space in heaven on earth.
Yeah, I also feel like part of my heaven on earth is just complete surrender. Like, I don't know and I don't have to know, because this is God's plan and these are God's children and this is God's world and I'm just in it. It's like not my world anymore. And that is such an incredible relief to me, that I can return to that place. Let's see if Lisa's still with us here. I want to hear her. Oh, she's got an empty chair there. She's putting her daughter to bed. So Cerise, can you share with us your vision and envisioning for heaven on earth?
Sure. Well, a lot of what my vision is has been shared already. It's that harmony, but it's also what you just mentioned, Kay, and it's that surrender. It's that having full knowledge that the universe will provide, that God is there and supporting, and everything is operating the way it's supposed to, in that perfect harmony and in perfect love.
Yeah. And some, it's also a relief to me to understand that I don't have to understand everything that's occurring. I've boiled it down to, I love simplicity. To me, the truth is always very simple. And so I've boiled it down for myself to love God, love self, love others. And that's like really all I need to do in the day. And it's like so easy to remember. You don't even have to write it on your hand, So thank you so much for sharing that. And I would love to ask Joan about her vision for heaven on earth.
So the facet that is most present to me today is really the idea or the possibility of like us as God consciousness, creators, explorers in this realm. So it's a combination of both like clearing out the parts or transmuting or refining the parts that aren't, for lack of a better word, like our God self or our God spark, so that like there can be a greater transmission of that God self that wants to come through and create through me or through us and experience through me and through us. And I almost see it like anything that's organically kind of I'm seeing it like this, but whether it's water turning to ice, where you can see that progression, or if you fast forward plants growing and it's this very organic, dynamic aliveness that is like that more and that more and that more. And the way I'm seeing it these days is it is like being we each have our own divine blueprint, and it's like living from that, like from my divine blueprint, not trying to live your divine blueprint or Charlene's divine blueprint or anybody else's. It's to the extent that I can joyfully be myself. You're speaking to that, loving yourself and loving your God. Loving God is loving ourselves. Loving ourselves is loving God, and loving each other is loving God. So the permission giving, the honoring the sacred and the blueprint in each person. So my version of heaven on earth is each of us like living that full expression of the blueprint of who we came here to be. And then the ways that does that organic growth in life, in the world.
Yeah. And I think if you can imagine that, there's like our resistances and our misunderstandings, they form like a shell over us. And so that divine wisdom for solutions that we feel we need on this planet, which of course it seems like there's a multitude of things we need, that they can't really get through. And then imagine that if we're all clear and everybody's receiving the portion that is specifically for them, like I feel like those problems are going to be solved in no time at all. Megan, you're got some acknowledgement going on there. So can you talk a little bit about your vision and how this plays out?
Oh, well, when you said the word portion, I was simultaneously thinking about the word portion control, because when I was like, how do you describe heaven on earth? There's so many different ways to describe it. And I've recently been contemplating just the simplest concept, which is, for me, heaven on earth will be when humans move from this place of like ownership to experience, right? We don't need to own anything. We don't move towards owning things and people, and we move only towards experiencing things, right? And so, one of my greatest challenges in life as a vegan and an animal empath, and one of my, I have animal visions, and it's just animals. It's been, my solution, my band-aid is like, I'll be a vegan. And that's not even close to the solution, right? That there's a principle there, right? That is what I'm really living. There's a principle that all life is valuable. And so when I talk about ownership versus experience, it's that example of, the radical difference right now in animals and the way that we consume other animals is that humans, we farm animals, right? So that we can have more than our portion. A lion goes and doesn't kill 32, gazelle and save them for later. They kill the one, right? And they eat it because they have portion control mentality, right? They don't need to own the gazelle. They need to have the experience of nourishing themselves and then moving along. And so for me, this is what we will be experiencing in unison, heaven on earth, when we join the other species on the planet in this principle.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
It feels like what you're touching upon is this, part of what we're experiencing on Earth. We really don't have cause to feel this way, but we do feel, or have been made to feel, that there's only so much and we have to fight for our portion. And that pits us against each other, when the reality is that, first of all, we probably don't even need as much as we think we do. And there's plenty for everybody. And if we can continue to nourish the planet and each other, and this love that is permeating everything. Thank you so much. All right, what I want to move into next, and let me just check the time, is to ask you all how we make our visions reality. Like, what is the process? What is the general process, and what is your process? Megan, I'll just start with you.
Can you clarify that a little bit more? My process for getting
yes, how do we as a collective bring our visions to reality? What is the process?
Yeah. I mean, it's that radical presence again, right? It's be the change, right? It's some of these very simple concepts, but what I keep visualizing over and over again since we've hit go live is meeting people's eyes, meeting the eyes of beings, and really I've in this line of work we're in, there's a lot of focus on self. And I think we're also starting to move through this phase again, where, in yoga, there's this we're going towards self-realization, for example. And we're doing that through self-acceptance and self-love and self-observation and self. And this has been a powerful, powerful tool for me for so long. I'm kind of freaking out because now someone's like, no, community realization, community awareness, the problem is a little too much self. So I'm having a hard time navigating it right now, and that's just where I'm at, because that's how this works, the cycle, right? Just when you discover one thing to be true, along comes something to completely blast it, right? But so for me, yeah, putting it into motion is being really present with people at the grocery store, being very present with people on the road. Why, when we get into a car, we suddenly like totally disconnected from people again, and they're just another vehicle in our way, like so radically present that you are this force that moves through your world, leaving lovely impressions on people everywhere you go. It matters. Every interaction matters. And so for me, that's the presence now. You know, when you get sucked into something and all of a sudden you're like, how am I here? How am I dealing with my neighbor's dog that's eating a rabbit in their backyard? Like, this is what happened to me today. I got sucked in because I'm the person to go knock on the front door and be like, your dog's eating a rabbit in the backyard, right? Just, you might want to know. So, and the lady was like, thank you, right? Like, so it's just being radically present and doing the things, always do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have noticed that what is occurring for me right now is that I have these moments where I feel inhabited by God. And when that's occurring, it's impossible for me to enter into any kind of conflict with people. Like, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't jive. It doesn't connect. But I only go in and out of those moments. Like, I'm more often out of them than in them. At least I know that it exists, but what my path has been is learning how to be back there. Like, what does it take for me to be back in that space? And now it's happening, like, you know, in and out all day long. And I'm watching myself be aware of it. It's really interesting. I wonder if I could ask Ashley, what your take is on how we bring these visions to reality.
Well, I feel that it's really natural as a human to kind of go into some of the addictions that we have, addictions to suffering, addictions to separation, you know, addiction to certain substances and different things. Like, we can get really, really addicted. And what's interesting for individuals that are on the spiritual path is that we can even get addicted to the tools that we use that are meant to bring us to that one source consciousness, whether it's crystals or yoga or different habits. You know, like, it's interesting the way that addiction can kind of creep its way into our reality. And to me, what I heard someone say one time, and it just really landed very deeply in my being, is the opposite of addiction is connection. It's connection. Whether it's the moment that you're breathing into your body and you're having a personal connection with your physical being, or it's blessing up that person that is actually just wearing a mask. Like, they're just a projection of you, like, that you're engaging with, that you're meant to connect with, to reconcile within yourself. And so to me, that's the next logical step, is in regards to anchoring heaven on earth, is how can I be more connected, whether it's to God, which is in me, in my physical body, and blessing the energy around me that I'm engaging with, that is connectedness. And so for me, that's what really comes forward. It's just really knowing that when that addiction comes up, it's like, this too shall pass. I love myself, and come back. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's just a beautiful place to conclude our conversation today. I want to thank each and every one of you for your wisdom, for your willingness, for your heart, for your intellect, for your presence. It's been so wonderful to co-create with all of you, and I have infinite respect for each of you, which is obviously why we're here together. So before we close, I just want to have us join in prayers, our dreams, our visions, just bundle them together for this amazing task of bringing heaven on earth, heaven to earth, or to realizing it within ourselves. It's been a long, hard road, but we're on our way home. So Megan, please take us out.
All righty. This is a song called Sweet Release. I said earlier, I wrote it in a day, which is really unique. And I wrote it because I was working very hard with somebody in the throes of some of their shadow work. But I think you'll find there might be a few trigger words in here when it comes to manifesting heaven on earth. So this is kind of about release, non-attachment, forgiveness, and doing the work. Sweet release. Hopefully it comes through good here. It's a sweet release. It's a soft redemption. Firmly stand your ground. Sanctify it holy. Bend and kiss the earth. Walk into the sunshine. Open up to grace. Offer up your smile. Not afraid to show up. I'm not afraid today. I can hear the hard thing and stay right there to witness. I can see you, sweet one. I leave the past behind. I choose what's life affirming. I choose what's tender and kind. It's a sweet release. It's a soft redemption. Firmly stand your ground. Sanctify it holy. Bend and kiss the earth. Step into the sunshine. Open up to grace. Offer up your smile. It's time to claim our story. It's time to break down walls to uncreate illusion and watch corruption fall now. I see your soul shine purely. I feel your heart beat strong. I know you're right here with me, feeling out this song. It's a sweet release. It's a soft redemption. Firmly stand your ground. Sanctify it holy. Bend and kiss the earth. Step into the sunshine, open up to grace, offer up your smile. It's a sweet relief. It's a soft redemption from the stand your ground. Sanctify it holy.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Megan. That was so beautiful. I'm wondering if you would possibly put the lyrics to your song in the chat later.
Yeah.
And also I would invite each of the panelists here to put their contact information, let people know how to get a hold of you in case they want to follow you and learn a little bit more about your work. So that's all for us, and please join us next time for another conversation that moves the needle along. That's our heart's prayer. And I know I speak for everybody when I say that. So good night.
Good night, all.